So yesterday we were discussing about the rate schedule. So we define a rate schedule called cloud costing rate schedule. So this is for the costing purpose. So the rate schedule indicates we are distributing the labor cost. So we enter only number of hours and we are enabling the system to calculate the.
Hi, sir. Sorry for interrupting. Yesterday, during the technical issue, I think we have not received that meeting request. We missed the class. Can you please quick walk through what the topics we have discussed so that we won't miss any gap kind of thing?
Okay. So I'll quickly, a minute, I can give you the discussion. Like since we created the project already, and we have seen couple of options in project status window once again, and we made the project to approve. So we have seen the approval. What is the approval? Item key, and what is the approval process, all those stuff. And next we were discussed about the pre-approved batches. What are all the pre-approved batch classifications we have, and we went through the one of the example called time card now. So we created a batch, and a batch different statuses we have tracked, and we have seen couple of options on the pre-approved batch functionality. So I have created a batch here, and I entered the time card for an employee of a week days. There are 5 days in a week, the working days as per the setup, and I entered 8 hours, and I want system has to calculate based on the rate. Go ahead and pick up the rate what has been set up in the system and calculate accordingly. So this is what the requirement. So how system is going to calculate, how to define a rate schedule, and the rate schedule has been defined by employee wise, have been completed. Now we'll see successively. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So
and rate card, yeah, this is the window. Rate card will be defined, isn't it?
Yes, the rate schedule by employee wise we are discussing. So here is the place you can define the rates. Okay, as many as rate schedule you want, you can go ahead and define here. Okay, so even organization wise also is possible. So here I'm going with operating unit wise. So each OU wise you can define this. Okay, and now you see we just define the rate schedule. Okay, but how system knows that I must go and pick up this particular rate schedule? Somewhere you need to configure, right? You need to configure the rate schedule. Go ahead and pick up a particular rate schedule. Okay, so system doesn't know as of now, even though you define the rate schedule, somewhere you need to map. Okay, so that gap is going to fulfilled by some of the prerequisites setups. Okay, so we are going to see all those prerequisites for the rate schedule pickup. So the very first setup what we need to complete is cost multipliers. So the cost multiplier is the prerequisites to be set up to make understand that system has to go ahead and what is my multiplier, and based on the multiplier it will calculate for your straight time or normal kind of things. So we'll go ahead and see all the related prerequisites. And the second prerequisite is the labor costing rule. Labor costing rules. And the final prerequisite for rate schedule pickup is organization labor costing rules. Okay, so these are the rules you must, the prerequisites you must define. Let's go ahead and see what is a cost multiplier. Why do we use this? Okay, all right, let's go ahead and set up this in the system. So set up, and I must go to the costing here, labor. You can see list of all prerequisites here. Okay, I'm going to the cost multiplier. Okay, just this is the navigation, setup, costing, labor, and cost multiplier. So the cost multiplier is nothing but system doesn't know what is your multiplier. Okay, so nothing but I just supply 8 hours. The rate schedule will be the rate against this employee is $20. Sorry. So you need to say to the system, okay, for a straight time, go ahead and multiply with 20. For a overtime, or the 20 is nothing but if I wanted to calculate, a 10% over the raw cost or 20% over the raw cost, you can go ahead and you can have in the system. Okay, so straight time, if it is straight time, it must go with $20. Overtime, it can go with $40. You can set up in that way also. Okay, predominantly the cost multiplier I'm going to define here for one for the straight time and one for the overtime. So let us see, once we run the calculation, we must drill back the based out of the expenditure, we must drill back everything, and we can see all the dependencies, how system is going to link together and achieving the accounting. Okay, so I'm going to write here one multiplier, cloud. I'm writing ST, straight time. I just write multiplier. You can give, I'm going to give here 20% or 10%. I would say 0.1 is my 10%. Okay. I'm giving some backdates. I just gave the and overtime. It's a 20%. All right. So just define two multipliers, straight time and overtime. So just come here and have this handy. All right.
So Sagar, in this case, what it determines is that whatever rate we have defined for a backer, that would be times 0.1%, right? That would be the straight, as 0.2% would be the overtime multiplier.
Yeah, and you can go ahead here for the straight time. You can take 1 also. 1 is equals to your 100%.
Or okay, can we give 0% because cost is cost, right?
Yes, yes. So it depends. I just giving one example here. Okay, we'll see. We can change the rates. Initially, we'll set up. We can change the rates and we can see the calculation. Okay, that way we can understand the complete setup and its calculation. Okay. So I'm going back to labor costing rules. Okay, let's go and quickly complete this setup. So it's actually the cost multiplier. It's a free text, as you can enter as you want, like and it's a global, right? And you can end data also. And the labor costing rules here. Okay, this is something we need to take in care. We need to define the labor costing rule, and for each labor costing rule, how you want to derive the cost, like that will be by cost method will tell us. Okay, let us go ahead and define cloud labor costing rule. I'm just going and just go ahead and define like this. Just going and the cost method. So you see here actual costing and standard costing. Okay. The costing methods will predominantly how you want to take the standard costing or actual costing. So I'm going with we'll see this clearly by changing different options, and I'm not going by enable accrual and enable planning. By default the planning is enabled, that is for your resource model. So I'm not going and using this in the foundation. We can see in PJT and PRM. Okay.
So
And this is
R12, right, Sagar? This enable accrual, enable planning, and rate source.
sorry.
Are they new in 12 too?
Yes, these are the new options. So we'll discuss. So actually rate source. So rate source is nothing but how you want to calculate. If you have any standard costing extension, you must give here extension. Okay. So for example, some organization overrides and the job group wise rate schedule you have been set up, and you have the custom logic where you need to modify the rate schedules based on some certain conditions. So those conditions are not fulfilled by the seeded requirements. So obviously what Oracle provided the extension called costing extension. So go ahead and use this setup first extension and write the extension with the given seeded extensions. There is a topic called extension we'll discuss clearly going forward in billing topic. So in the extension, I must find out the costing extension, the standard procedure what Oracle already given. I must go there and just open the procedure, and I can write my own logic. What is the new business requirement that is not exactly fulfilled by the seeded functionality? So write the logic and just compile that. You don't have to worry anything. So system automatically, it will come here. It will check, are you going by the raw cost wise or you are going by the extension wise? Okay, you just go with the projects. Currently I'm going with the projects, which is your raw cost wise, and extension means it will go to your customized Oracle seeded processor, and it will pick up the relative conditions. Okay, I'm not going with this, so I'm just going with my raw cost wise, which is project wise. And effective dates, I'm just giving some back dates here. All right. And for overtime calculation, okay, what are all the expenditure types? This is for expenditure types for overtime cost multiplier. I'm just going to take the PA contract. Okay, I'm going to take this PA contract, and you have overtime multiplier. So for overtime, 20% which is going to calculate professional and I'm going to take 20%. Okay, and you can say, okay. So expenditure, the types we are going to match for the overtime calculation. So these are the cost multiplier. The 20% are going to incur overtime. Okay. So here, this way we need to define the labor costing rules. So the labor costing rule are predominantly which send an information to the system how the rates are going to be calculated using your raw cost or going by the extension. That is number one. And number two, it also have an association of overtime multipliers. So for the overtime multipliers, you have to map the overtime multiplier within the labor costing rule across all your expenditure types. Okay. So that way the labor costing rules are going to work. I'm going to say, yes.
Sagar, I have a question. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. So we already have a rate, right?
Correct.
Which we have defined, and why we rate source?
The rates are going to store in rate schedule itself, but what I'm discussing currently, system, even though you set up the rate, okay, as cloud cost rate schedule, okay, system doesn't know, system doesn't understand what is my rate to be picked up, even though you define how system is going to pick up on its own. It's not right. So that is why there are some prerequisites, like this is the measure setup to pick up and identify where I have to go, what I need to pick, what I need to do. So for this is mandatory, for this is mandatory. So these are the prerequisites. Once you complete this, system will understand that I have to go into the operating unit or a specific organization and pick up my particular rate schedule. So that way system will identify the rate schedule, and if you run the costing process after your batch is released currently, once you run the costing process, we call it as the cost distribution programs, system will identify and it will distribute the cost. Okay, so
what is the link between the rate source and your rate schedule? Because I don't see any link here, right? Or is there any specific link?
This is what I'm trying to explain. You just wait for a moment. If I explain this, you will understand. Okay,
so you'll show that.
Yeah. So this is my labor costing rules, and quickly we can go to this organization labor costing rules. These are I'm just running fast because the navigations are in the same, under the labor, under the costing menu, all submenus we have. Okay, now the final prerequisite in the rate schedule is organization labor costing rules. So organization labor costing rules is a OU specific, and the previous two setups are global setups. Okay, so now in which OU you are using the rate schedules. So I'm going to default this. Okay, and organization. So here the functionality is, if you include any of the organization here, okay, this particular rate schedule, what you are going to match here that will work only up to that organization. And if you are not going to provide any of the organization here, it will work across all organization within the operating unit. So I don't want to specify that this particular rate schedule should be only for finance or purchase or any other some organization. I don't want to restrict because I have to use across all my organization in the operating unit. So that is why I'm not using anything. And next, labor costing rule. This is how we just define one labor costing rule, and now we are going to map the labor costing rule in organization labor costing rules. So now I'm going to match here. This is what the labor costing rule I just defined. Okay, I just defined this labor costing rule and I'm going to match here. So that way these two are get linked. Now cost rate schedule. Now this is where the link, the exact question is getting answered. How this is going to link? Now I'm going to link my rate schedule in organization labor costing.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So now default job schedule. You must define one job schedule. Okay. Okay, let's see. Job schedule I'm not using currently. Okay, I'm going to save here. This is default job schedule is a mandatory in PG80. Okay, we'll see all these setups one more time in PG80 project management, not in terms of your forms, Java pages, the OAF pages. We'll see. Okay. And you can also, here I'm not imposing any condition over the organization that my specific org will use only this rate schedule. I'm not using any condition. So in case, as per your requirement, okay, a specific organization has a specific rate schedule, go ahead and define list of all rate schedules and match here. And you can map here, okay? And similarly, you can give a project wise also. See, a certain number of projects, a specific projects will only eligible to use the rate schedule. Go ahead and use the restriction here, the condition that a specific project go ahead and use the specific rate schedule. You can also map here. So I'm not going and giving any condition, and I just define. Okay, and your effective date, make sure you always give some back dates. Okay. Okay, I just say 20th December because all my setups are 20th December. Actually, I must give you 2016, but I don't know my legal entities, all those are accordingly there or not. Okay. Guys, are you clear? The organization labor costing rules. So I repeat the last setup, organization labor costing rules, which is very important for us. In the organization labor costing rules, we specify number one, labor costing rule, and also we specify the rate schedule. Because within the labor costing rule, the multipliers are going to link, right? In the labor costing rules, we have seen what is your the overtime cost rate. We match already. We map there the organization labor costing rule. So that way, the labor costing rule is linking to the multipliers, and your organization labor costing rule are already linked with your labor costing rule. That is why all three dependencies are fulfilled. So when I run my distribution programs within this operating unit, system first, it will come here. Of course, this option I'm not going to discuss. If required, you just let me know in the transactions. I'll give you some examples. Based out of the examples, you can come back with the questions. Okay. So very first step, how system is going to pick up your rate schedule when you submit a costing process, the distribution of costing. First, system will come here, costing overrides, and it will go ahead and check the overrides table. First, it will check in your overrides table. If something is fine and it is matching to the project related, your data, if it is a labor transaction, what is the labor, and if particular labor is having any overrides, first it will come. Else, it will come here. Okay, this is the second place where system is going to come here. So I'm going to prepare my rate schedule. Okay. So system will come here for the first time before it distribute and find out the rate. So first it will check, is my project is in this operating unit or not? Yes. Then it will go here. It will go with the labor costing rule. Okay, within the labor costing rule, is there any overtime expenditure type have been used in the pre-approved batches or with any other interfaces? If something is fine for the overtime calculation, it will go here and it pick up the multiplier, and finally it reads your rate schedule, cloud cost rate schedule. It will go here and it will pick up this rate and what is the number of hours you entered and what is the rate is defined here, and it will get and it will multiply. If it is overrides, it will pick up from this list and it will pick up the override multiplier and it will calculate the override option. So as of now, I did not enter any overrides. We can check the override also going forward. So that way it link all options and it will process. Okay.
Sagar, a clarification. I got confused here. So if on this operating unit like Cloud Hyderabad, in this operating, if I have another costing rule, costed by job, so how system is going to identify whether I need to consider cloud cost or the cost rate which is by employee or the cost rate by the job? How system will understand that?
You can schedule by job wise. This is cost rate schedule. Okay, and if in case you have the job wise, you can give the job wise also. Since we did not set up anything, so we are not going to give. Okay, so if you want to calculate by job wise, go ahead and give the job wise. System will pick up. Okay.
Sagar, I think that's probably more with the discrete job. That's where if you want to cost on the manufacturing, that's what the job schedule is.
No, not the discrete job. These are the project jobs. Actually, the question is the job group wise. If I want to go with the job group wise, how to set up that? That's the question. So this is the project job, and go ahead and define your rate schedule by job wise, and you can set up here job wise. System will definitely. So you can, in case you have the either, it will take only one. If this is the cost rate schedule, it will go. Else it will go with the job rate schedule. Okay.
So either one of them it will take.
Yes.
Okay.
What about the other three options that we had? So don't we have to? We have 5 options, right? Under the job rate schedule.
Yes. I will come here. Okay. Don't worry. I will come here for non-labor how to do it.
Yes.
And
yes,
I will come this point.
Okay. Thank you.
So my first example is my time cut. Currently, I'm picking the time cut. Okay. I'm explaining this. So we'll see all other pre-approved classes and Accordingly, we'll see the setups in sequentially.
Okay, Sagar, just a
Alright,
minute.
I'm
Just
going
if
to-
you could be on that, just a minute. If you be on that window. Okay. So, if under operating unit, under under single operating unit, we have a multiple project organization. So, say organization one follows cost rate schedule, and organization two follows job rate schedule. So, in that case, so we will specify the operating unit, and the organization one will have cost rate schedule line, and organization two will have the default job schedule line. Is it that
Yes.
setup is fine?
Yes, that's where you need to just manipulate the setup, okay, according to your requirement. Now, what I said, this particular organization, if you include any organization here, this particular rate schedule or these rules up to this organization. If you don't enter anything, it will work for all, because this will be superset. Okay, in case you want a specific or needs a specific rate schedule, go ahead and define and set up. Okay.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Can there be more than one labor costing rule in a single organization, which
you can define any number of labor costing rules, okay, and you can define any number of rate schedules. The way system should understand based on your requirement, you can map accordingly, okay. Within the same operating unit, you can have n number of schedules, n number of labor costing rules, and you can map and you can derive this one. Okay. So next, I would like to show you some errors. Intentionally I will make some system should throw some errors. Okay, let's talk about the cost distribution process. Okay. The cost distribution process is something when you enter the transaction or you import the expenditures into the project, you have to do some process, okay, in order to roll the cost to the project level. So those processes are predominantly, we call it as a cost distribution process. So using the cost distribution process, we have for each classification by time card or your miscellaneous or usages inventory, we have a different programs, okay. So all the programs, they're related to the process. They start with PRC. Stands for process. They will do some process like your cost distribution process, okay. And you can also see some programs whose prefix is EXC, okay. These are called the exceptions. And you can also see some programs with MGT. This is for management, the reporting, and audit related programs we can also see as AUD. So these are the different prefix within the projects we can see, okay. So I wanted to run a cost distribution program for my labor category because my class is timesheet, which is time card, and I need to run a program. Okay, let's see the program first. Any question? I think no. Okay. So you see some of the programs starts with PRC. Okay, the prefix is PRC, so we can understand the PRC is related to the process. Okay, we can also see that DX, the streamline process. I can explain you in streamline process topic when it comes. Okay, so I don't want to give you much information right now to you may get confused. Okay, so the very first program we need to run is PRC distribute labor costs. So I'm going to run this program. So in this OU, this OU, I'm going to run this, the first program, PRC distribute labor costs. So now, these are the different parameters it has. Okay, so you can run by a specific batch wise, project number wise. Okay, or in case you want to run across operating unit, don't provide any parameters, just don't enter, run as it is. Okay, since I know my project, I'm going by my project wise, or you can also go by your expenditure batch wise also. Okay, and moreover, we can run this in real time. We are going to schedule at a certain frequency of time, so that we don't need to run manually. Okay, let's see what happens if I submit this program. PRC distribute labor costs.
Sagar, I have a question, Sagar.
Yes.
Is it possible to do or submit this concurrent process across operating units, like using MOAC?
You must schedule. You must schedule for each and every operating unit, and it will submit on its own.
Okay. Suppose I have 10 operating units, and I don't want to submit it based on the operating units. Rather than I have to, if I want to use my MOAC, I want to use it. So is it possible to submit like that?
Okay, so we'll see the parameters list and don't enter any of the OU. We'll see how it works. Okay. Now my program is went into the error. We'll check the log. Okay. We know, right? Purposefully we are not having some more setups, and we need to see these errors. So with this, we are able to understand how to debug your log file on a certain process is going to error out. So that is the intention, making this program erroring out. Okay. So what any out generated? I think no, only log. Fine. Let's see this. Auto accounting expects 29 parameter values per transaction, but this provides only 25. Okay, so it is talking about the auto accounting, right? All right. So first point noted, auto accounting is something which is not configured. All right. Okay. So here it is expecting some auto accounting is missing. We don't know what it is, right? So this is what I expected. Now, as per the log file of this program, it is saying the auto accounting is missing. So what is an auto accounting? It's a auto accounting. Okay, let's see. Okay. So we must configure the auto accounting so that up to now, what we have done, we just entered a batch with time class, and we have configured the rates so that system can identify the rate multiplier in the given operating unit or organization, and it will calculate the rate. But what about the accounting? Which account it has to derive and which account should we get debit and credit? System doesn't know. That is why it went into the error. So you must define the auto accounting first. Go ahead and have your auto accounting and configure the auto accounting, and one more time you can run the program. Then that way system will pick up the your assignment of your auto accounting rules. So auto accounting predominantly we have auto account lookup sets and auto accounting rules, and finally assign rules. Auto accounting rules. If you able to complete these three, then your auto accounting is done. These are the something called prerequisites to complete your auto account. Okay. So before we set up auto accounting, we must prepare some Excel work, or based out of your the agreed what account has to derive in different scenarios. There are 100 setups, all those you need to document it first, then you can configure in the system. Okay. So segment and mapping. I can go ahead with this just for understanding purpose. Majority of the implementation will go like this. Irrespective of my business, majority we can convince the customer that how to map your segments in projects. Okay. So since in projects we have separate mechanism to derive the accounts for each set of transaction that is driven by the auto accounting. So in order to configure the auto accounting, you must set up the system such a way that which segment is mapping to which portion of your project accounting part. Okay. In projects we have seen something like project organization. We have also seen the expenditure organization. We have seen the expenditure types. Correct? So we know all this. So each segment must be mapped to one of your projects to understand for a specific project, a specific kind of expenditures when you want to process in an organization, what account has to be derived. That is where the mapping is required. So majority of the implementations, when you go company, your company segment is going to map with project organization. Okay. And your cost center is going to map always with expenditure organization, and your account, your natural account, the segment is going to map with expenditure types. So, and all other segments, in case you have intercompany segments, you have future 1, future 2, or line of business, or anything, any other segments you have, you can go ahead and by using different values like a constant, there is a value called constant available in projects. In auto accounting, we use that one. And if you want to derive based on some logic, we can also use the logic based out of SQL. I will explain you that. In rules topic, we have seen what is constant, what is SQL. Okay, so these are the three important mappings we need to understand. Okay, suppose in case of intercompany, I can go ahead with constant, or I can go ahead with a specific set of account, or I can derive from SQL. So I don't know the current structure contains how many segments. We'll see, we'll verify, but based out of that, only these first three are very, very important. Majority of the implementations will follow, and all rest is like, we can derive based out of our own logic. These are the very important set of mappings. So these mappings we can use in real time as it is, and you can explain this to the customer in the CRP sessions or your as-is phase, and in the war room. Okay, you can go ahead and convince the customer, if you map here, your ledger is going to, your subledgers are going to pull the respective segments as it is. Okay, so this is the mapping I must follow. So I documented it as company segment. Okay, in my set of books or in my ledger, the company segment, I don't know if it is segment 1, segment 2, segment 3, how you are viewing. We'll check one more time. Segment 1 is company, and I'm mapping with project organization. And segment 2 is my cost center. For an instance, I'm mapping with my expenditure org. Similarly, the natural account is mapping to expenditure types. Okay. Now let's go ahead and check these values in projects. Okay, any questions?
Are there any auto accounting extensions, Sagar?
No. Within auto accounting, you have an option called rules. Within rules, you have different parameters, like go ahead with SQL. Using SQL, you can write your own logic. You can write any function, return the function a single value always, and get that value and map here. Okay, that's where you can use the SQL logics. There is no auto accounting extensions.
Thank you, Sagar.
Sagar, is there any subledger accounting setup we can do here?
Yes. Generally, auto accounting will bypass the SLA accounting. So what it does, it don't depend on your the setups which is there in your subledger accounting SLA. Whatever you are going to pull here, directly it will take classes and it will generate one SLA event. From there, it will move to the GL. Everything is controlled by PA only. Within the PA, I just said only one program, right? There are two more programs I'm going to introduce maybe tomorrow. Those two programs are responsible for your SLA from PA itself, and the final program, the third program, is responsible to push the cost from even SLA to general ledger.
So you are saying the default definition, right? The accrual,
Right.
which Oracle provides. So it has an SLA definition for projects, right? But
Yes,
we have to define this to override that.
Yes, it will override. You don't have to configure anything. Okay.
Okay, got the point. Thanks.
So this is a critical point to understand. Okay. Now let's go ahead and see what is our flux field structure, what are the company, I don't know, even I did not see. By the time we have this instance that's pre-configured. Okay, construct. All right, it is something wrong. So I have here GL accounts. I can go here. So just query function. So directly when I go to the GL accounts, it is getting my ledger from projects itself. Okay. Okay. These are the different values. Control L. Oh God. Okay. So I have the company department account. Okay. Let it change here. And all other I can go ahead with my constant values. Project, service type. I have something called here project, service type, future one and future two. Okay. All right. So these whatever you have, either you can go ahead. Okay, we'll discuss in the mapping side how these are going to map. Okay, these mapping you can go ahead in the rules. You can see either you can go with the constant values or other. Okay, so let's focus on these three first. Okay, now I'm going with the company segment. Okay, company. So first I'm going to document here for the first segment called company. So I'm going to enter a new transaction. Just I want to see the list of all values under company. All right. I'm going to have one more table here. So project organization, right? Delete. So my mapping is I'm going to map my company segment with my project organization. So what are all the project organizations I have here? These are the organizations I have. Okay, finance org, purchasing org, and okay, finance org, I have these organizations. So as per my mapping table, what I referring, all my company segment is mapping to my project organizations. My project organizations in my setups or finance, purchasing and sales organization. Against each, I'm going to select, this is the 1000. So if you carefully observe, I'm not typing anything. I'm just copy paste. The reason why auto accounting is a case sensitive. Okay. And this is 2000. And 3000. So these values we don't have to worry. All financial consultant will give you entire thing. You just have to understand which segment we will propose this, and they will give you all the segments. We don't have to worry. Within financials, you know, GLBR 100, we do get all these values. Just copy from there. And once the document, your PABR 100 is signed off, just get verified and set up accordingly. Okay. And when you're doing, make sure that don't enter any setups directly without your groundwork in an Excel. Okay. And follow a unique text always. So while typing, you may enter some wrong spell, uppercase, lowercase, carefully. You can always use the copy function. Okay. That way we can eliminate the case sensitive. Okay. And now another my mapping table is the department. All right. Department is my mapping table. Guys, do you understand what I'm doing here? I can repeat one more time, no problem. This is my department. So 1000 is for my finance department, and I will assign here 3000, and for sales 4000. I can go ahead and define this. All right. Next, finally, another mapping table is my account. All right. So in the mapping, all accounts are mapping to my expenditure types. So we have already defined some of the expenditure types. Okay. So different expenditure types we already defined. Just copy here and come here. Or it is always recommended to copy from the application. Okay. You can also copy from application. That's where we can eliminate case sensitivity. Okay, let's pick up the value first, then we can go ahead and see this one. Okay, my account or mapping to my expenditure table, expenditure types. So go ahead and give the account values from account segment. So go ahead, give some expense account. So these are the expenses I quoted. So what is okay? I can take it. Some don't have to worry. These values anyway will be coming from the functional theme. Finance functional it gave you. And business is also aware of this, and professional. For professional, I'm going to take the 6-5 series here. So these are my expense accounts. Six, 5, 1, 4. Just randomly I'm selecting airfare 6515 miscellaneous. You can also check some 7 series. Okay, this is the revenue. No, I want expense account. Okay, so better go with 6-5. Something we can pick up. 6100. So these values the financial people will give us. We just have to map into our expenditure types. Okay. Now cloud computer expenditure. Say go to some 6-5 series again. Okay, service maintenance 747060. Okay, 7460. I'm taking something 74 series. Okay. Just I'm taking one liability account. I will explain you. I'm just writing. This is required. I'm going to take. Why the clearing account is required, I will explain you. I'm just tracking the liability. So 2210 can be the liability. I mean the clearing account. It's a payables account. 2210 is a payable account. I can go ahead and take this. Alright. I just have taken some additional account, the clearing account as liability account, payable account. Okay. So my mapping is done. Just leave about all this. I will explain you in rules category. Okay. Guys, you understand what I'm trying to do here?
Agar, I want to ask you something like when we communicate with this what do you say, with the GL team or the finance team. So what is exact we need to communicate? Are we going to say like give us all the GL account or expense account or liability account? What exact communication should go, and they should understand that we are going to map it here?
Okay. In the workout sessions, right, when you are about to, when you when a proposal, just giving the project execution methodology. When you float an RFP for a proposal, you win the bidding, you start the work. Okay, of course you will be with the customer and you will be in workout sessions. In the workout sessions, both your business, both your financials team along with the project consulting team will group together. Every day you need to work out something, like something in a sense in a structural way. See, when you are attaining a point of accounting, business will give you list of all accounting, and your finance counterpart will read all those, and he will prepare a document saying that these are my accounting. I'm going to configure this way. These are my, you are given the GL accounts and your balancing segments, everything will study. He will give his own Excel sheets that is going to approve. Now assume that your GL configuration is done and you are configuring the project. So again, in the room, workout sessions, you must ask, you must communicate, I'm going to map my company department accordingly with your project organizations, expenditure organizations, or project types. Or if customer would interested, even company and department go with the expenditure, or you can explain him, you can convince him, and or if he has any other business related requirements, we will fulfill the mapping. Once mapping is done, we'll ask, please provide a list of all accounts you want for a specific organization. You just give me this mapping table. Okay, then he will give list of company codes against their segment values, each and every organization and what segment values he wants. He will provide you. Okay, you don't have to map or assume anything. It's a document straightforward that has already been configured in GL. So with the help of business, the GL consultant, the financial consultant, will provide the organizations versus the segment values. Similarly, the department and its values. Finally, your expenditure types. This is customer will give us. No, none of the financial consultant will involve here. He will give you a list of all expenditure types, and he will give you the related account values. Say expense account, the payability account, liability accounts, offset accounts, all those. So all related expenditures, or the expense types based on their business, they will list out all this. You just have to track in your BR100, get it approved and configure carefully. So the communication should goes from you is, what are the accounts you are required under each mapping table. You understand?
I'm getting it.
So this clearing account also we can request what is the offset of your expense, the credit side, the other entry of your debit, what is the clearing account, we'll ask. Okay, I'll come to this point in configuration of your assigning rules. Okay, so any other questions here? I'm going to stop today because it's a huge setup, very important setup. I want a fresh class I need for rules and assigning rules, so that you guys are really interested. These are very sensitive area. Okay.
Sagar, can there be? I have one question. Because we have, when you say project org, that means it's a project task owning organization, right? And in our setup, we have like multiple orgs, which are both, which are project task owning and which are expenditure as well. So are we saying we can have many segments to one org mapping? Like the company can be mapped to say EBS financials, right? Org, the project task owning, and department can also be mapped to EBS financial. So is that possible, or it has to be separate?
Just think logically, we can answer. I have one segment, okay? Say company or the department, I have 001. I have different departments like sales department, purchasing department, and services department. So if I wanted to configure one department with a multiple department with same account value, is that possible? 001 is finance or finance department, 002 is a purchasing department, 003 is a sales department. What it indicates, a one-to-one mapping. Can I have the finance department with list of values of 001, 002, 003?
Right, but I'm talking with respect to our setups right now, right?
Yeah.
We have three company orgs, right? And three
Yes.
of them can be both project and expenditure org. So in that case, we are basically saying that company is mapped to say EBS financials org 1, which is a project task owning, and again department is can also be mapped to EBS financials because it's an expenditure org.
Right.
So we didn't separate that at the initial implementation, right? So
yeah,
so
we did not set up the.
that, yeah.
Yes, I got the point. You know, fundamentally the confusion of these values are confusing. I can understand. So when you have the transaction, okay, the transaction has a clear picture, okay. Every transaction must have 4 different unique values. We call it as a POET information. So it has a project. Based on the project, system will definitely derive the project organization. And when you enter an expenditure, in the expenditure, you have an expenditure organization from where system will derive your expenditure organization. Okay. And each and every expenditure, you have expenditure type from where the expenditure type related account is going to derive. Okay. So even in the configuration level, you have same set of organizations for both project as well as the expenditure. You don't have to worry. But when you have the transaction you enter or the batches you created and within the batch list of all expenditures you have, those expenditures has a clear visibility on different company codes, departments, and accounts. Okay, that way we can divide and we can pull from each mapping table. Okay, I can show you that. Even the right example, the current example where we are, if you observe the batch, we can also understand what is my project organization, what is my expenditure organization, what are all the expenditure types I process. System will pick up accordingly. Okay.
Okay, so we should just keep it separate then, right? Not mix it up.
Right. It will be separated by transaction wise. Even though you configure together the same organizations as project as well as expenditure, your transaction will make a difference. Okay. It will be unique.
Got it. Thank you.
So guys, I'm going to stop today. I don't want to, put more and more, the important topic today. I would like to stop here and we'll continue tomorrow. And tomorrow class is about rules and your assigning rules, auto accounting assign the rules. This is the whole configuration is very, very important. And we'll see the different ways of writing rules. Okay.
Do we have class on Monday?
Monday is 1st January, right? Okay.
Hi, sir.
I will communicate mostly.
Hello, sir. The ERP admin, sir. Monday we don't have class, sir.
Okay.
We will mail to all the participants.
Yeah. So next class is on Tuesday. So I'm going to stop today because too much information on auto accounting I don't want to give you. I want to go a little slow on this topic.
Sagar. So I need some information. So this account mapping segments is there na 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 something. Okay. As you said that this data will be given by the finance team as the finance consultant, right? So they will give these details, the segment codes and mapping details, everything. But how we to describe these details, which just like as that we have created the job group organization, like that is this implementation is responsible by us or the implementation or the finance team?
Yes. So this one we need to, in workout sessions, we need to agree how you are going to map your GL segments into your projects. You are going to give a clear understanding or POC to the customer. If you configure this way, your accounting will be mapped together and derived as required. Okay, so you need to have an understanding sign off on this. So once it is ready, you have these organizations and you can ask the GL consultant these values. That's it. And again, you can go back to the customer and have your documentation done. I'm going to map this to this. Is it fine? Or he will give you the list of all orgs and the list of all company codes. You can map accordingly.
Sagar, another thing also, that you have such the details of these numbers in a particular screen in the application, and there are the some already created the expenditure types. Okay, if I take a new project, okay, there will be no predefined expenditures. But everything also need to be created, right?
These setups will be done in the beginning only. We don't create like after creation of a batch or anything. Just as a training purpose, I'm going in sequentially. I'm showing some of the errors based out of what is required. So in real time, we don't go like this. In real time, we'll set up in a single shot. Okay.
Okay.
And Sagar, the project organization, we have to propose and give it to them, right? After that workout session, once we know the structure, they will only give us their organization name, GL organization.
In the workout sessions, you must have each and every business scenario must be trace it out, have a POC on the next day. Configure and have the POC. Okay.
Right. And the name has to be like we can give our name, right? Or we can propose the names, as you said, right?
Right.
Sagar, two questions. First is generally these expenditures accounting happens to what kind of account? I mean, is it expense account gets debited when the distribution happens, or you understand the question, right? I mean,
yes.
Yeah. What kind of account functionally is
Okay, I understand. So offset accounts also we need to here when you are discussing about the accounting, what is the going to debit when your expense is going to debit? What is the clearing account? The offset of your expenses, the payable account. So those things are pre-configured. System customer will understand and which account it is going to offset, so that the balances will be, will not be impacted. Okay. So customer will know definitely. So we are not responsible for the account. What account I need to configure for debit side, and the other side of the debit, the clearing, what account should go. We don't have to worry at all. Once the customer agree, this is the expense account, this is I wanted to debit, and offset of 2210 is going to offset, and so that my ledger is going to be balanced. So once he agree and gave this value, we are going to configure, and from thereafter Each and every transactions we'll process, and if any mismatch, we'll see where is the mismatch reasons. So functionally, the accounting also, once I process this particular transaction, I can go ahead and I can show you how the subledger account within projects are derived, and in GL also we can see. Okay, GL is completely out of scope in our discussions, but out of your interest, in the in last portion of the class, I can able to show you the posting in the GL. Okay, so how the ledger is getting posted, a specific source from your projects. Okay, so we'll see. That's how we are going to. Nothing in our hand. It's completely customer and the customer business. How you want to derive the accounting and its offset. Okay, the credit and debit. We'll configure and we'll run. If from there if something went wrong, we can debug that one. Okay.
Okay. Okay. One more question, Sagar, little technical. Like we have the expenditure batch created, right? I mean, it's in the release status. However, we submitted the distribution program, it failed because of auto accounting. But technically, is the expenditure right now in the interface table where from the distribution program will pick and post it to the project?
Okay, these are all the future topics you are talking that will be clarified in next course of training. Okay, I did not start at the interface table. I'm in just pre-approved batches within projects. I did not touch the PA interface table, so that will be definitely clear in ongoing classes.
Okay.
Sagar, I have one question on with regarding to payables, right? So when we enter an invoice and we add the project in it, so are you saying that an accounting will be also generated along with the payables entries for project?
Well, this is the AP to PA integration. AP to PA integration, we just okay, it's a high time to talk. Okay, just give you to answer that accounting entries would always remains with payables subledger. Payables to when you have the payment is done, the payment accounting will go to the GL from AP department. But if the expense over the the liability, whatever the liability balances you have, since that is based out of any project, okay, you just bring the cost to the project and put it there. That's it. You don't do any operations. Saying that because of this project expense, I have this particular supplier invoice and invoice get paid. So those information will be tracked under your AP, and the source of your expense is a project. Okay, because of the project you have AP invoice, you just track the cost under the project, so that project will be having the cost. That's it. Okay, we'll see all those clear transactions in integration.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sagar, one more question I have. So with this accounts, like in the account section where we have the expenditure type and its segment values are getting mapped. So in case this values will be given, is it the value given by the client, or we will be giving this segment values to the client, saying that we are mapping the expenditure type against these values, or they will give us?
We'll propose this portion. As a PA consultant, will propose this portion. If you map the company's accounts and department this way, that's your business will get fulfilled. If he is convinced, you can go ahead and map accordingly. If he is not convinced, he must say one way that how your company code must be mapped to your project. Is it expenditure or any other? How your account is going to map. He must give the mapping. So based out of your customer requirement, he will give you the mapping if he is not convinced with this. So accordingly, we will set up. So majority 90% of the implementations would go like this. Okay, and I have seen some other mapping table. Both companies and departments are going by the project organizations. There is no expenditure organization. They are going. So similarly, in that case, these also going to the same. Okay.
It's much clearer now. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we'll meet on Tuesday. In case you have no questions.
Hi, Sagar. Just one quick question. Sorry. Where do we define the mapping between segments and project org or expenditure or
Yes.
which is it?
Exactly. It's a good question. Yeah, very good question. So what I'm trying to explain here, my mapping table I'm going to draw in my BP80. Assume that the current sheet is my BP80 and my BP80 is approved by the customer. Still I did not set up where I need to give the mapping in the application. That is what auto accounting lookup sets. Okay. These values you are going to map in auto accounting lookup sets carefully, and successive related setups will be taken place.
Okay, sure. Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Okay, guys. I wish you advanced happy New Year. We'll meet in New Year. Okay, on Tuesday. Enjoy with your family. Okay.
Same to you.
Okay,
Sagar.
okay, bye bye.
Thanks.
Yeah, same to you.